let's start a new point under the heading, call it as Indian polity and constitution. See, while preparing for NGA or most of the competitive examinations, you need to understand this part neatly, not only for the purpose of preparations of examinations, but being citizen of this country, you must understand this one, right? Or I will suggest as much as you can know, or you would like to know, you should always strive for it. It is essential. So the necessary thing which we can have, right? So Indian polity and constitution, though it is a very large, or I can say the huge topic, right? Just a minute. Okay. So it is, in fact, it is a huge topic, though it is vast, but you should know some of the things which are really important, and we have to cut down, or we have to see the important aspects of both these two different points, which if we consider them two different, right? In fact, this will be depending on this one, so you should know this particular part, right? And every time there are questions on in your GAT paper, right, of NGA related to this particular part. So here, Indian polity and constitution. So Indian, right, you need not to explain about this. So polity, right, and the constitution. I'm sorry, polity and constitution. So these are the two different things which you have to always understand. So very necessary term here is the political science, right, which we can consider, right? So a term, political science. So what this term is? So it is related to, obviously, politics. So here I will suggest not to take the word politics in a negative manner, right? In fact, it has made for the positive or the creative things, but many a times we always take it in a negative manner. So in this case, what we can consider, so it has emerged by the Greek word called polis, right? So what that polis is? So polis meaning okay, Greek word polis. So what is meaning of this? It is nothing but a city or state, right? City, states. That means what? Again, I will write it at into the a. This equals to a political organization. Political organization, right? So if you consider this particular thing, then as it has emerged somewhere, so there must be some of the researchers, some of the let's say personalities who must have studied this particular part, right? Or they must have done something on this particular field, which is called political science, or we can say the politics. Fine. So in this case, if we consider the expansion or the expounding of the theories, right? Particularly the political theory. So there is always a need of theory, right? If you are going to do something, then you must have put it into a theory, right? That means what? If someone, many a times you people or you yourself always try to convince your mother or father, mostly mother, and you must or you always formulate a theory by which she can get easily convinced. And once she get convinced, then your father ultimately get convinced. So at that time, you have a kind of theory. So as far as political theory is concerned, right? So first it was uh, being or first it was expounded by the two things two peoples in the Athens, right? Although it is not that much let's say difficult, right? So in Athens, so Protagoras and Georgias, Protagoras and Georgias, so they have uh, first focused or political theory. Right. So here, what it is here, is there any theories behind it? So it is known as political theory, which was firstly we can say that studied or let's say the uh, focus put a light on, right? So that would be the hint. So later on, see, this would be the first one. Later on, someone must have again looked into it, right? No, it was because of, I guess now it is focusing. Yes. So yes, I was talking about. So later on, someone must have studied again this particular part, right? So the scientific study was conducted by in this particular field, right? Conducted by the Socrates, right? So Socrates has conducted a scientific study of various problems which are concerning the state and the government, right? So he has scientifically studied some of these things, right? So why I'm telling you this, because you should not have a negative aspect or negative approach of this word, right? It is very essential, and everything or let's say every aspect of our life is it's surrounded by or is involved by this particular uh, let's say word, right? That is called politics. So scientifically studied by Socrates later on, right? So not only Socrates, then after Socrates, there was involvement of Plato, there was involvement of Aristotle, right? So you know what this particular thing is, right? So here there is a relationship which we can consider uh, in between these. That is, just a minute, I will put it. So there is a relationship of I don't know, somewhere you must have learned, maybe in your academics, right? In one of the chapters in your English book, probably. So that would be the thing. Now, in this case, what Aristotle said. So Aristotle said that Aristotle always regarded as yes, I'm also seeing it very clearly. So Aristotle regarded as the father of science of politics in the western part of the world, right? Which if you can consider, right? What about India? So this was the globally, right, the emergence or the let's say evolution of this particular world, and then is what kind of studies conducted on it, whether they are theoretical, whether they are scientifically, right? So this is the approach which we can have worldwide. What about India? So here in India, if you consider the first political thinker of India, right? First, so political thinker of India is Manu, right? First political thinker of the India is Manu. You know, the first book of law which we do have is known as Manusmriti, right? So that is the case which we can have, right? Now here later on, right? Now you might be knowing it, or you must be interested in this particular name. So later on, there is one great personality who had uh, formed and formulated the thinking as a book called Arthashstra, and produced or written by or created by the Kautilya, which we also know him as Chanakya. Right. So Chanakya later on have formulated a let's say formal formulation of the political thinking, right? So that is by the Chanakya, right? So these are not the things which are essential here in we can consider, right? But we can have, right? So here it is. I will write the names: Manu Smriti, right? So what it is, it is known as Book of Law, right? Again, don't consider it in a positive manner or in a negative manner, right? As it is, it as a let's say reviewer or the researcher, we can look into, right? Then next is Arthashastra. Arthashastra by Kautilya, right? Or Chanakya, right? So this was the latter case which we can consider about the studies in the politics, right? As far as India is concerned. So this is overall, right? Now, if we consider this particular world, then these are some of the things which we cannot skip. Rather, we should know, right? If someone is much more interested, they can read something related to this. So you will be getting a full history of it, right? But right, of the I don't know, it's not clear means what. So this particular book, right, is known as Book of Law, right, in the early era. That's the reason what I said, right? uh, that's what because of what I said. Okay, spelling, the book of law. Okay, just a minute, what I can do. So okay, it's resolved. Now if we consider, it's all about this one. Now okay, MANUS, MANUS, right? So this one is, and I think now, yes, now it is visible. Fine. So this we can have. Now, as I said, if someone is interested, they can go at their own for these things. But in my opinion, as far as your preparation for this exam are concerned, right, it is not necessary to go to these things, right? Obviously, if you go through this particular, that may add some added value information to your understanding, right? But it will also create some, let's say, illusions, or sometimes the confusions, right? So you will be thinking, or you will be trying to correlate it with from its emergence to the till date existence and how it has progressed, right? So that would be the another part. Anyway, now what about India? If we consider, so we have to see what exactly it is, right? So you know, its name, though we call it as India, but what its name is, it is always, if you consider, if you see in the constitution, so it is Republic of, sorry, RE, Republic of India, or what it is there, it is written as Bharat Ganaraj, right? If you consider. So this will be the case. So how would you define the India, right? So very difficult question. Define India. It's a very simple thing, right? So it is a union. Keep in mind, only single word. Since it is a union, right? Union of let's say mother, father, daughter, brother, and yourself, right? Son will be forming a family, right? So union of these two families will be forming a joint family, right? So if you go by, if you go back, so you'll be finding out a huge family, right? So altogether it is known as, but that family was consisting so many members, right? So that would be the case. So here union of what? So a union of states. Right. So is it sufficient only to write states? In my opinion, it is sufficient. Right. If somebody wants to be more precise, then that individual can call it as union of states and union territories. Right. Again, now see that union itself is consisting. So union territories are also considered as states. Only thing here is that now you will be considering that 28 plus say 8 or 9, right? So this is the states. That doesn't mean that here if you write only state, that means only 20 years. No. So if you are writing here only states, then here it should be 28 plus 8 or 9 you can write down, right? So doesn't matter, right, whether you are writing the union, about union territories or not, because in a large scale it is also considered as a part of state, or likely a state, right? So union of the states is the definition which you can consider. So what is India is nothing but the union of the states, right? So this could be the thing. But here the beauty is the single constitution. Single constitution is being followed by each of these states. There are some countries where you will be having only 6-7 different states, right? And even these states are not following a constitution of their own country. I mean, they are having 7 different constitutions, so each separate for each. So here it is not. So union of states, which you can consider. Now, what kind of government is here? Right now we are actually going for Indian polity, right? So rather we have started from here. Instead of starting directly with the polity, particularly Indian polity, I have just considered this particular part, right? So that somewhere you must feel that somewhere there is a base, or it is always related or concerned with something globally, right? So what kind of government we do have? So it is a, now, tough words, type of government, right? So whatever maybe government we do have is known what, right? So that would be a case. So in this case, it is nothing but a sovereign, right? So sometime initially you may feel these words, let's say, what I can say, heavy, right? So a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic, with a parliamentary system of government. So what kind of government here we do have, right? So it is nothing. Just a minute, I will put it off. I guess now हे पेपर पुढण्याचा प्रकार बंद होऊन जाईल. Okay, so fine. I was talking about the type of the sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, right? So sometimes you might be struggling in understanding the meaning of these particular words. In fact, or to remember these 4 words: sovereign, socialist, culture, secular, democratic, right? So you know democratic, you know secular, you know socialist, right? So we have to be socialist, we have to be secular, and we have to be democratic, right? Now, what about sovereign? That would be the let's say difficulty which you might be facing. So sovereign is nothing but a supreme ruler, right? If we consider, or it's a kind of monarch which we can consider, right? Or right. So sovereign is nothing but a supreme ruler, right? We do have. So what's here a supreme ruler? It's constitution. So sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic with a parliamentary system. So most important thing here is, right, in this particular case is this one. So I think most of we know a little bit about this part, or uh, most of us genuinely have certain interest in this part of this particular case, right, which we can consider. Now, here is a government, here is a definition, then how it is being governed, right? So, how governed, how it is governed. This is the case. So, you know how it is governed? Obviously, as I said, it is governed by constitution. It is governed by constitution. Now, at this moment, I will tell you most of the things which are really important for your preparation are related to the constitution, right? If I start directly putting you or directly introducing you to the preamble of the constitution, and if I progress through the 12 different schedules, right, or some of the important articles, everything we will not be going through, right, but at least we will be going through each of the schedule and what that schedule is about, right? So most of the time the questions are there. If you consider NDA 2019 second, the previous one, right? NDA 2019 second. So in that second NDA of 2019, the question had asked, right? So basically there are 12 different schedules currently we do have in our constitution. I'm just telling you the kind of question. So question was the administration and let's say administration rules of the schedule fifth are not applied to which of the following states, and there are four options. There were four options, right? So in first option, what I remember is Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Odisha. Second is Assam, Tripura, Mizoram, right? And then third is I think Meghalaya and Mizoram, right? I forgot the fourth one. So likewise. So what has happened? In fact, the schedule, for example, I'm just telling you, schedule 5 is about the administration. So what kind of administration of the states? But as I said yesterday, there are some of the states where you can naturally see the tribals or the tribes are huge in number. And because of that, the same rules of administration applied to Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh may not be applied as it is to the one of the states, or let's say four different states at East India, right, or eastern side of India, right? So that would be the part, and therefore the sixth schedule is applied for these states, right? So what you should know, you should know that particular part. But if I directly start it, or if I jump to it, so most of you might not be building a base, most of you uh, might not be starting it a step wise, and that would be the case of only remembrance instead of understanding. So I always think about this particular part, right? So, and one more thing, whatever we are, right, or we are mostly influenced by these things, so why we should not go through these things, right, little bit. That is the purpose why I have just considered these things. So I was talking about how it is governed. So it is governed by the constitution. But if you consider about this particular part, right, now the constitution. So here there are n number of questions. Very first thing, when it is created, when it is adopted, when it came into force, right? Existence is different and into force is being different. So this would be the part which we can consider. So if you consider, when did we adopt the constitution, right? So here are some of the points, as I said. So very first question, when did we adopt it? So constitution was adopted on Most of you must be knowing the answer, right? Adopted by whom it is being adopted? So obviously by Constituent Assembly. Adopted by Constituent Assembly. What it was the date? 26th November 1949. Right. So it was adopted by Constituent Assembly on 26th of November 1949. Now it was adopted, and then when it had come in it had come in force, right? And into force, it had come into force on, again it is 26th, but it is 26th January 1915. That's our Day of Republic, or Republic Day of India. It's on that day it has come into the force.